Welcome back to Hardball. While so much attention is on the race for the White House, the 2008 Senate races have been heating up, and it now appears the Republicans are in big trouble. Hardball's David Schuster has the report.
Senator, come to order.
The Senate election map favors the Democrats in a big way. There are 2 Senate seats that will almost certainly go from Republican to Democratic, 5 more moving the Democrats' direction, 2 others that are now toss-ups, and 3 that the Democrats have an outside shot at. Some of the changes involve GOP vacancies.
I thank the chairman.
In Virginia, where Republican John Warner is retiring, former Democratic Governor Mark Warner, no relation, has a huge lead over former Republican Governor Jim Gilmore.
Let me tell you that
in New Mexico, where Republican Pete Domenici is leaving, Democratic Representative Tom Udall is 16 points ahead of Republican Steve Pierce. And in Colorado, where Republican Wayne Allard is retiring, another member of the Udall family, Mark Udall, is ahead of Republican Bob Schaefer. In some races, the incumbent Republican is simply in trouble. Alaska's Ted Stevens is in the midst of a criminal corruption trial while facing a tough challenge from Democrat Mark Begich. In New Hampshire, John Sununu is down by 5 points to former Democratic Governor Jeanne Shaheen. In North Carolina, incumbent Republican Elizabeth Dole is in a tight race with Democratic challenger Kay Hagan. In Oregon, Republican Gordon Smith is facing a strong challenge from Democrat Jeff Merkley. And in Minnesota, Democratic challenger Al Franken, the former comedian and radio talk show host, is giving Republican incumbent Norm Coleman the race of his life. Last week, Coleman pulled his negative ads in an effort to improve his cratering image. In other races, Democrats are aiming for payback. It was 6 years ago when Republican Saxby Chambliss ran this ad.
America faces terrorists and extremist dictators,
featuring the images of Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden and questioning the patriotism of Democratic incumbent and Vietnam vet triple amputee Max Cleland.
A record proves Max Cleland is just misleading.
Now, Democrats are pouring resources into Georgia to help Democratic challenger Jim Martin defeat Chambliss. Democrats would also love to beat Republican caucus leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, a staunch conservative who is facing a tough challenge from Democrat Bruce Lunsford. The only state where Republicans can even hope for a pickup is in Louisiana, where Democrat Mary Landrieu leads in the polls but could be vulnerable to Republican State Treasurer John Kennedy. But Democrats stand to gain at least 5 seats or more. And in the Senate, while a single filibuster can derail anything, filibusters can be broken with 60 votes. So the question is, how close will the Democrats get to the filibuster-proof majority they are seeking? I'm David Schuster for Hardball in Washington.
David Schuster. Chris Cillizza writes The Fix for the WashingtonPost.com, and Stu Rothenberg's an editor and publisher for the Rothenberg Political Report. Stu, we haven't had you on lately, so let me ask you your views of this. We're looking at a map of 10 states where Democrats have a chance to take over a Republican Senate seat. Without getting into all the details, what are the biggest surprises here where people we consider heavyweights are in trouble?
Well, certainly Elizabeth Dole ranks up there on the list, Chris. Even Democrats acknowledged that her early numbers were good. She was regarded favorably. People had a good opinion of her. But they attacked her. They attacked her strong. And that, combined with the overall national mood, which favors change, I think has hurt her prospects considerably.
Does it help to have a woman running against her? Is that part of this strategy? They're also hitting her on residence, the fact that she spends so much time. Aren't they saying she lives in Kansas? I heard some of these attacks with her husband. Or what's going on?
Yeah, they said that she actually hasn't returned to the state very much over the years, and they started off with a very effective attack, raising questions about her effectiveness in the United States Senate. So yeah, I mean, I think her numbers cratered very quickly, and they reflect the larger Republican problem, which is Democrats running against incumbent Republicans, running for change. The Republicans are having a problem.
Let me go to Chris. Chris, do you think the Democrats could actually pick up all these seats, pick up 8 or 9 seats, and get to 60?
You know, Chris, I think they could. That doesn't mean they will, but I think they could. In an election like this, I think you've got 2 things working. One is the fact Stu mentioned, the political environment just so tilted against Republicans. You know, the Washington Post ABC poll came out a few days ago. 8% of people said they thought the country was headed in the right direction. I mean, that's a stunning number. President Bush at 23%. So the Republican brand badly tarnished. Combine that with the huge spending advantage that the Democratic senatorial campaign arm has over their rivals on the Republican Republican side. As Stu pointed out, in North Carolina, you've seen that in Oregon. You've seen it in a lot of places where the Democratic campaign committee goes in there and spends millions of dollars, and the Republicans just don't have the money to respond.
I'm always impressed, Stu, when good people lose because they go down in a tsunami. I'm looking at I'll just make two judgments: John Sununu, Gordon Smith. Pretty good, like Jim Talent last time, lost to Claire McCaskill, who may have been a better candidate, but they're good senators. Is that possible? What do you think about that as an expert, that where good senators go down because they're in the wrong, it's the wrong time?
I think you picked the two best examples, and Jim Talent last time is a good analogy. Sununu, if you talk to him, if you know him, he's down to earth, he's smart, he's personable. I know the Democrats have demonized him, but he has been a pretty good senator. And Gordon Smith is a conservative Republican, but he certainly doesn't froth at the mouth on some issues like gay rights. He votes with the Democrats. But these guys, it's the wave. And Chris, if you look at 2 years ago, people like Ann Northup and Rob Simmons, House members who normally would be elected 9 times out of 10, this could be the 10th time for people like Gordon Smith and John Sununu. I
agree with you about Ann Northup, too, another good congresswoman. Chris Cillizza, you haven't been in this as long as Stu, but let me ask you your hunch about this thing. You write a column which everybody reads on one line and in the paper, and it looks to me like some of these people, like the big shots even that aren't on this list, like Mitch McConnell might get knocked off. You know, the Republican leader might get knocked off. That's big time.
Chris, you mentioned big surprises. I think Stu nailed the one that was the biggest surprise to me, which is Liddy Dole. But I would put Mitch McConnell. It looked about 6 weeks ago or a month ago that Mitch McConnell had put this thing away. Polls had closed a little bit between him and Lunsford, a self-funder who's run unsuccessfully for governor twice before. And then all of a sudden, it went from a 10 or 12-point lead to this thing being tied. I think it's directly correlated to the economy. The collapse of the economy nationally certainly has not helped McConnell. The other thing to remember, Stu pointed this out, in a change election, it is never good in Mitch McConnell's case to have been in the Senate since 1984. It's very easy for a guy who's never been in elected office to run against you and run as the change candidate.
A particular case we're watching here, Stu, if Senator Stevens beats the rap, if he gets acquitted in that case before the election, can he win?
Yeah, I think he has a chance to win under that circumstance. We have the races as a leaning Democratic takeover because the trial is obviously a problem and there's plenty of evidence against him. But if the jury finds that if they're unable to convict him, I think he absolutely does have a fighting chance. And if you look at the polls, the races are close now, even though he's in the middle of a trial, and that would suggest he would certainly have a chance to survive.
Because every time a guy gets acquitted, they come out and say, I'm innocent, I'm exonerated, I'm the good guy, I'm the winner. It isn't just that you didn't get convicted. You're innocent as Snow White. I mean, that's what the way they sell it. Anyway, thank you, Chris Cillizza. Thank you, Stu Rothenberg.
Thanks, Chris.
It's great to have both on. Up next.